Okay, students, so this is the video where I show off, go over Arnold lights and some Arnold shaders just inside of the My application. So I'm going to open up like a scene. I have somewhere here saved. This one here, I'm gonna probably share this with you. Gonna save my scene. So here we have a little scene here. Very simple. Very simple scene. Um, Nothing fancy, and very simple. Couple things I want to go through. I want to save my scene as. Save this as version 2. Okay. And first of all, this scene or whatever I'm showing you is not due with any assignment really. It's just for me to further explain to you some of the lights here in Maya, how they're used. Some of like the lights that comes with Maya over here, like you have create lights and these lights here. Kind of show you how. I probably not go through all of them, but I'll go through most of them, and you could have fun and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so first thing I like to do while I'm in the scene, I like to go to create camera, and I'm just gonna call this shot cam. Okay, then I'm gonna hit the two plane split window here. Gonna choose this and click shot cam, panel shot cam. I'm simply just gonna zoom out, and I'm gonna turn on the film gate. I'm gonna select the background. I'm gonna press R, and I'm just gonna scale it this way and just zoom in, kind of like that, so we get a sweet spot. Okay, so this is our camera here. I'm going to lock my camera. This is our camera area. Turn off my grid. This is my camera area, and this is where I could continue to work and all that kind of stuff. Okay, good. Now, this is the backdrop. I'm going to go modify, freeze transformation on it, and I'm going to select this camera right here, this one here, and press H to hide it. If you don't have the outliner, you could go to Windows. You can go to Windows, outliner here, and it opens it up over here. So over here, you can move around freely, and over here is your camera, which we're not going to move it because we locked it, right? It's locked. So if I try to, actually I can select stuff, but I cannot move the camera because I click lock. Okay, good. Now, let's bring some lights in here. First of all, I want to select, go to my hypershade, for example. Go to my hypershade, and I think I'm gonna do something to this thing here. I think this is for one of these shaders, so I'm gonna just clear my graph, and I'm gonna create. Click over here, Arnold shaders, AI standard surface. Click on here, and I want about 3. So one duplicate, Control D, duplicate, 3 of them. This one is gonna be called BG for background matte. This one is going to be called ball underscore matte. And this is going to be called donut matte. Okay. So with these three shaders, I'm going to minimize this, and then I'm going to select the background here, right click and hold, assign existing material. Then I want to go to background material, and I'm simply going to click on the background material. And I don't, if you pay attention to this, I don't want my background to have any specular hits, so that. And I could also make my background a little bit darker, like that. For my ball, I select my ball, click right click, existing material, and I choose ball matte. Select my torus, click right click, shift select the existing material, donut material. All right, cool. So now that we have that down pat, save our scene. Okay, save our scene. Next thing we want to do, I want to create Arnold lights, area light. So I'm going to press W, move it up. See, this is the area light here. I can scale it up, press R and scale it up. And this thing here, you're going to see what we do. So I'm going to move it out here just for a little bit. Let's move this out of here for a little bit. And okay, cool. So now that we have this light here, you can move it and all kind of things. How do you render it? We're going to go here and Arnold and click on render. And we could just put this over here like so. I'm going to change this to, I don't know how it's not letting my camera. Oh, my shot camera is off, so I have to press H to unhide it. And now I could select it, but it's still black. And that's because when I select my light and press Control A, I need to go to the exposure and put in about a value of 10. Soon as I put a value of 10 in there, I could go a value of 15 or a value of 12, a value of 13 in the exposure. So this exposure, as I say, like you click it, and the more you add, you could click and drag the slider, or you could just put in the numbers in there. Okay. You could, right on the back, you see it's kind of grainy, and that's because if you go to Windows, Display Settings, you could put Image, Denoiser Optics here. So it kind of clean up our scene while we're doing our little render here. So this is the area light. Let's talk about it. It's a rectangular light. In Unreal Engine, it's called rectangular light. This is, you know, you could do all kind of things with it. So you could rotate it. See? You could scale it. So the more you scale it, is the more interesting it becomes. You could change the color, put a color on there. Simple as that. You could go back to the default white color. You could turn on the color temperature and play around with the color temperature, forget mood. You know, whatever you're doing, like a night scene, all that kind of stuff. You know, you could go to warm kind of thing, right? That's the air light. In terms of like the spread, so you can play around with the spread of it too. And the spread does something very similar. Like for example, if you want like a vignette kind of vibe going on there. In terms of light shape, you could change it to cylinder. You could change it to disc. As you can see in the viewport, it's showing you what you could change it towards. So you could get that vignette thing going on there. You could also play around with the intensity to get something really cool. And you could even press W and move it around, kind of like that. Another thing, if you notice that there's like a little line in the middle here, you kind of want that to be pointing all the time towards your subject, whether it's your character environment. If you turn that away, guess what you're going to see? You literally rotate it away, you're rotating the light away. Okay? Then you have the shadow. So if you could turn off the shadow, if you don't want shadow or you want shadow, it's there. Samples is like how graininess how many grain you want, and the more you put the sample, is the more your render time is gonna be beefed up. But that's okay because you're not gonna have a grainy render in the end. You're not gonna have a grainy render in the end. So samples is another thing. Camera visibility, yeah, light filters, all that stuff is very neat stuff you could do to this. But this is pretty much the air light. The air light is simple. I really like the air light because you could create like a studio lighting setup. You know, get some really cool effect here. So that's the air light, for example. Okay. I'm gonna click on the air light and I'm gonna press H to hide it because I'm gonna move on to another light. So I'm gonna go Arnold, lights, and I'm gonna choose a sky dome light. So this is the sky dome light. This is the sky dome light. And if you click on the sky dome, you notice the sky dome light blow out everything. If you go into the attribute editor of it, the intensity is set to 1. Remember, you could map like a HDRI to the color of it. Let's go ahead and see if we can get that. So file, and I think source images, and here's the HDRI. And there you go. You have like an image-based kind of lighting going on there. You could select the HDR light. You could play around with the intensity. You could say, I want the intensity to be very low. And there you go. Another thing you could do with this light here, you could go in there, select the sky dome, rotate Y, and look what's going on here in the viewport. As I rotate the light, you notice like I could get all kind of thing going on there, you know, stuff like that. Pretty cool. We also use a sky dome light in our room scene that we work on in assignment number 4, and you guys had a lot of fun with it and stuff like that. But like, there's like a little bit more in depth how you use it. You don't, whenever you use a sky dome light, you don't really use it to take over your entire scene. You just want like a low, for example, you're gonna put like a low, like a 0, like a 0.1, and then if I should turn on my area light, press H to unhide it, you notice what's going on there. I could even like select my sky dome, and I could say 0.2 or 0.1, and you can see like there's this little blue tint of the light because the sky of the sky dome is there working, and this is all you could use these two lights working together and whatnot. So you could select the area light, press H, and you can see this blue little tint there. So this light is just act like as a fill and so forth, filler for the scene. So you don't want to use it as your main light source. You understand? So yeah, very good. So that's the sky dome light. Okay, I'm gonna press H to hide that. Let's go on to our lights here and mesh light. So how mesh lights work? I'm gonna select this cube, the sphere here, Control D to duplicate it, move it up, press R to scale it down. And how does mesh light work? Well, I'm gonna go to Arnold, lights, mesh light. Okay. So how does it work? So I'm gonna click on the render and exposure. I'm gonna put it exposure to 10. See that? So you're not seeing the sphere that I have here, but you are. If I press R and try to scale it up, you see what's going on. It's the same thing that we kind of have with the you know, if you have like a light bulb for the mesh light, you could click here over here. This is how the mesh light is. You click on here, the geometry is there, but here's the mesh light here. If you want to see the ball in the scene, you simply just have to turn on here and play around with the intensity. And there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you have to select this light here. Select here, use mesh light, and there we go. You can play around with the intensity. So you basically use like a geometry for this kind of effect here. Pretty cool. That's the mesh light. Okay. So I'm just gonna select it and press H to hide it. And let's go to Arnold, lights. I'm not gonna go to photo. I'm not gonna go into photometric light or light portals. I'm gonna click on physical sky. As soon as you click on physical sky, you're gonna notice that it has something like a sky in here. You also see it's say right here. You can also play around with the intensity for it. You could also play around with the, if you click on the physical sky, you could play around with the evaluation of this. So kind of like that. You could play around with the tint of the sky. You can do all kind of things you want with this kind of light. I don't really use it. You could also select this and you could rotate the light. See like that? I don't really use this light here because I don't really need it. So I'm gonna select it and press H. You could also use some of Maya lights in here. So you could go create lights. I'm gonna choose a spotlight. And I'm gonna press W on the keyboard, move that up. I'm also gonna go to panel, look through selected. And I'm just gonna like middle mouse button click and drag and just line up my lights. Line up my spotlight to where the donut is. Now you're wondering, where's the lights? Well, how come you're not seeing anything? Well, I'm gonna press Control A. Then I don't play around with the intensity here, but I do play around with, I'm gonna go to Arnold here and play around with the exposure. So the exposure, I'm gonna put it to about 12. and about maybe 14. And you're wondering why so sharp shadows and all that kind of stuff. That's because you're gonna have to go up here and play around with the cone angle. You can play around with the penumbra. You can play around with the drop off. So if you want to create that nice soft shadow kind of thing there, that's where you could go, like a vignette, a little vignette, like a spotlight to it. You could play around with the radius. So the more you play around with the radius, is the softer your shadow is going to be. So the radius right now is 10. I'm just going to put it to about 20. And this light here, this spotlight, I'm going to put the exposure to about 16. Right? And I'm going to go back to the radius, and I'm just going to keep playing around it until, and I'm going to keep this rotating like so. Yeah. And yeah. So that's the spotlight right there. Pretty cool, right? What else I could do with this? Radius. So radius soften your shadow. So if I go back to like 0, you see how hard my shadows is. You don't want a hard shadow. You want to like soften your shadow and kind of blur it out. I'm gonna save my scene. How to get out of this light. So you're gonna go panel, perspective. But you still select the light here, and I'm just gonna crank this up a little bit more. I'm also gonna play around with the cone angle to get a bigger, like a vignette. And the exposure, I'm gonna crank it back down. And there we go. It's pretty much we're getting the same kind of effect, just like our guy over here. That's called the area light. We're getting the same kind of effect. Okay. I want you to go and play around with these other lights here. So you have the point light. We have an area light here for it. We also have a directional light. So if I want you to play around with these lights, I remember whenever you're playing around with these Maya lights here, these are Maya lights, you don't want to play around with the intensity. You want to play around with the Arnold settings, the exposure. Okay. All right, cool. Nice. So I'm going to select all the lights that I just created, and I'm just going to delete them. And the reason why I'm deleting them is because I want to do something called a 3-point lighting setup. So I just explained all the lights. Now I'm going to explain how to light like a 3-point lighting setup. Okay. So what's a 3-point lighting setup? If you go to Google and type in 3-point lighting setup and go images. So here's a basic example. So we have the key light coming from this area. Your key light could come from anywhere really, but this is like this is the object. These are our circles. This is a backlight going on here, and there's a key light. Let's use this diagram as an example. Okay, cool. All right, so we're using this guy here. Okay, right? 3-point lighting setup. All right, so let's just go Arnold lights, and I want to choose a area light. And I'm gonna just press R on the keyboard, scale it up, press W, move it out, and I'm going to rotate it so it's facing from this side here. I'm gonna move it up, and I'm also gonna rotate it down kind of like so. All right, so that's, and then the very important thing we have to do in the outliner, call this key light. Very important you name it. You could have 100 lights in the scene. If you have light, if you have AI light, it's gonna confuse you. So start from early and name your lights, please. So now select your key light, go to the attribute editor, and the exposure, put it to about 12, 12.5, about 13, about 14, about 14.5. There you go. So our key light is coming from this direction here. Okay. All right. That's one light. Okay, good. Then I'm going to create another light, create light, and I'm going to create a sky dome light. This light, I don't want it to take over, so I'm just going to put 0.2, 0.3, and like a 0.1, 0.1. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to click on here, go to File, and I'm going to grab the HDRI that I downloaded, and save my scene because I don't want it to crash. Yes, click here, select the sky dome, rotate, middle mouse button, click and rotate it. I don't want my scene to be blown out like that, so I'm gonna just click on the intensity and put like 0.2. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause my render, save my scene. I'm gonna open up my scene again because I don't know what's going on. So we're here, sky dome. I don't want the sky dome be so powerful, so I don't know what's going on here because I can't change any of these sliders. What about this one? Okay, I don't know. Maybe recreate my sky dome line. Oh, I know why. I need to right click break connection, and I need to click on the checker pattern for the color and map that with it. It's a lot better now. If I should do a render and go to camera 1, it's blown out obviously, but we're just gonna knock that back. And this, we don't want it to be, we already have our key light. So this, we're gonna call it sky dome underscore fill. Okay, so it's acting as a fill light. Okay, cool. All right. For the sky dome, I don't want it to cast any shadow. I don't want it to be the one who's casting a shadow here. So I check, simply just click on here and check off cast shadow. I could even go into the sky dome again and make it really low. Really low. So you see, we're still seeing our shadows, but I'm making the sky dome light really, really low. Okay, pretty cool. Very cool. Yeah. All right, now let's go back to our diagram again. We're gonna need a backlight. So for the backlight, save your scene. For the backlight, we're just gonna pause this, go to lights, area light. Press W on the keyboard, move that up, scale it up. Remember, this pin has to be facing this way. Rotate it, simple as rotating it. And you just rotate this kind of like so. So it's like a backlight. I'm going to give it a weird color. So I'm going to give it like a pink color. And then select this, press Control A. And I want to play around with the exposure. So make sure click the render to play around the exposure. And I want this to be like really ridiculous, like 15. So you're not really seeing it because you're not really seeing it. You're kind of seeing it. Is because this wall here is blocking it. Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, there's something called a light link. So first of all, you have to know the object that you want to not let it affect. So it has a name. It's called BG. So I'm going to go to here, rendering, lighting and shading, light centric. This menu comes up. Here is my new area light. I don't want it to affect the background. So with that done, guess what you see? Okay, ta-da! Ta-da! See that? That is what we want. That is exactly what we want. You could go ahead and close this. So here is our name your light. Let's call it backlight. And after that, I'm going to change this back to like a white color. And I could use color temperature to give it that kind of look that I'm going for. I could even increase the intensity on it for that backlight look. See that? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So I could pause my render. And that's pretty much it for 3-point lighting. Now I want to go over to the shaders in Arnold. Go to Hypershade here. And I want to just click on one of these. Let's click on the ball and graph it. Remember, you could go on the Arnold, click on shaders, and this is how you create the AI standard shader. Or you can hit tab. There's two ways I show you this semester. You can hit tab and just type in AI standard surface, and then you just select it here. These Arnold shaders are pretty straightforward. You have been playing around with them for just by importing the texture from Painter and connecting texture maps to here. But what if you just want to what if you just want to do a couple of things in here? So, well, I'm gonna put this to the side. And for the ball, for the example for the ball, if you want to change the color, you can change the color. Just gonna play this. You can change the color. Click here. You can change the color to anything you want. Change the color to anything you want. You understand me? You can change to anything you want. Okay, that's the color. I normally don't play around with the diffuse roughness thing. Normally doesn't play around with that. Don't have any reason to play around with it. All right. Yes, so going down the slider, if you want this to be very metallic, all you have to do is just play around with the slider and it becomes metallic. It's as simple as that. Metallic, non-metallic. Just go down with the specular. So we never mess around with the specular color unless you're doing like gold and stuff. So if you play around with the roughness, really, if you zoom in, you can see it's like really like a glass marble or something. But then if you bring the specular roughness to like the other side, it just smooth out it and not let it so shiny and stuff like that. So pay attention to this. Anisotropy, rotation, transmission. Transmission is it's like glass. So wait, transmission is like glass. Then you have subsurface. You can turn on the subsurface, and as you can see, it's white. So you could even put maybe like that, and then maybe on the radius side you put like that, you know. And yeah, maybe up here you could kill this, and then you have like a subsurface thing going on here, like it looks like a skin going on there. You could even like go to overkill with it, and there you go, you have like a subsurface kind of vibe going on there. You could play around with the scale of it, and there you go, you have some kind of subsurface thing going on there. Maya do come with like some shader presets. So if you click on the presets here, you could say, hey, I want replace blood. Let's see what it looks like. See? I want to do a car paint replace. See that? Or I want to do a rubber replace. See that? So it does come with some presets here if you're too lazy to play around with it and all that kind of stuff. It all is all in here. And then you have sheen, emission, you have geometry where you put your bump map and your normal map. You know, you played around with this section before. But that's pretty much it when it regards to this demonstration. I think I'm gonna go get for plastic replace. There we go, got plastic. I'm gonna show you something cool about the other one. So I'm gonna get the donut, and I'm gonna graph it. I'm going to, okay, hold on. I'm gonna create a glass. So I'm gonna click here and simply click on the preset, glass, replace. But you're wondering, well, what's going on? You can click on here And then you can play around with the specular roughness. And there we go. We got like a nice glass thing going on there. You can go to transmission. You could change the transmission to whatever you want. And there you go. Glass, like a jade glass thing going on there. It's so much fun this is because you could play around until you're tired. You could play around and play around until you're tired of playing around. So I invite you, if you have time to play around with lights, play around with shaders in Maya, and have fun with it. Just learn, and hopefully what I just showed you a while ago, it's helpful to further give you confidence in like saying what these lights as shaders can do inside of Arnold, Maya Arnold. Thank you for watching and take care.